Are much heavier. How did you feel about this car compared with the Spirit?
The power, I would say they are very similar in power, but in handling, the Spirit was very good in handling. And this car is a nice car to drive, but sure is a very heavy car to drive on the streets. It feels very heavy. I'm sure it's going to be very tiring on this race. I would rather much better be driving Formula 1 car here.
The big question, Emerson, are you going to go back to Formula 1?
I hope so, to go back to Formula 1, but if I go back to Formula 1, I want to be able to drive a good car and a good team to compete in Formula 1, not just to participate in Formula 1.
Emerson not starting the race. That honour goes to Tony Garcia, his co-driver, and Garcia's in the lead in the Spirit of Miami car owned by the race promoter. But no, it's Brian Redman in the Jaguar. Brian Redman gets into the first hairpin first in that Jaguar XJR4, number 44. A big traffic jam in the streets of Miami. John Gunn's car very slow, the Phoenix Chevrolet. That blue car's obviously in a problem, perhaps hit the wall. And that's really spreading out the field on the very first lap. Yes, Brian Redman leading. Klaus Ludwig in second place. No, not quite making it. Klaus Ludwig in the very fast front-engine Ford GTP car. Was very quick in practice. Second fastest in practice. And there is number 88, another of the 7 March cars entered in this race. That's the Whittington brothers. But it's Brian Redman, the Florida-based Lancastrian, in the lead. Brian Redman coming back to racing after a 2-year retirement. Made his name in Jaguars 20 years ago. But here's a spinner. Yes, it's a little Argo. The little Argo spins. And number 63, Jim Downing, in trouble very early on in the race. First then, Brian Redman. Second, Tony Garcia, born in Cuba, but now living and working, selling cars in Miami. Third is the Ford. Fourth is the Whittington brothers. And in fifth place, Oscar Larari, the Argentine, and the little Momo. This very testing circuit, 1.85 miles round. It's a little bit like Monaco, and like Monaco, you cannot afford to make a mistake. The driving has to be very precise indeed, and that's what Brian Redman is very good at. These Jaguars, built in America using a modified version of the XJS engine, and there's somebody in trouble on that. Yes, that was the grid Porsche of Emilio de Villota. They had lots of problems in practice and more problems now. But up at the front, it's Brian Redman. There he is in the 04 car, and Klaus Ludwig gets second place and almost locks up, almost goes off at the hairpin. Klaus Ludwig in second place now in that GTP car, built with a lot of help from Ford Aerospace, all in carbon fibre. And that car has had a new engine since last year when it's made its debut, a 2.3-litre turbocharged motor, which really does spit fire. Well, there's the Miami River behind, as the cars sweep round this superb new circuit. And as you see, there is a harbour just like Monaco, but unlike Monaco, there's no ups and downs. Well, the Ford is chasing the Jaguar, 2 of the biggest names in the motor industry, here on the streets of Miami. And in slow motion, well, there you have the Colombian-driven Porsche having a close one. Well, those hairpins are pretty tricky now. Brian Redman pushing his way through. No, that's the other Jaguar. That's the second Jaguar of Bob Tullius, the team owner, forcing his way through, flying in about 5th place. And now he's got in front in the Whittington's car, already lapping a Chevrolet prototype. Car number 44, the owner of Group 44. Bob Tullius has been racing Jaguar and British Leyland products for almost 20 years, but this undoubtedly is most exciting and most successful venture to date. And now already he's starting to lap some of the slower cars, coming up behind the Nimrod Aston Martin, driven by Ramirez, and still with Dale Whittington behind. These Jaguars really do look superb. These cars compete in the American IMSA series. Rather special regulations, different to the European sports car regulations, but word has it that these regulations will be adopted worldwide, perhaps before the end of the season. Well, there you get a panoramic view as the cars rush down Biscayne Boulevard. Brian Redman in the lead. Brian Redman then setting the pace. Tony Garcia in the car that Fittipaldi will take over has already dropped to about 7th place. finding the pace rather hot here in Miami. And there is Klaus Ludwig, hustling that little front engine forward through the hairpin. And again, the Whittington Mark Chevy in pursuit. Whittington's had problems in practice, but the car is going very quickly indeed. Both of the Whittingtons have driven at Indianapolis, very experienced drivers. And the Ford is closing on the Jaguar, of that there is no doubt. This Ford marks the return of the big American company to motor racing. The car was launched last year at the Detroit Grand Prix. Did only 3 races last year, and this is its debut this year with a brand new engine, and you can see it just spitting fire from that exhaust pipe. An interesting concept, putting the engine in the front. It's loosely based on a Mustang, and that is why they have put the engine in the front, as indeed the road car has. Well, there's the Miller Cowart Red Lobster march, and that seems to be holding them up a little bit, and that's allowed the Ford to close right up. Now, how are they going to work through this traffic? The Red Lobster car is getting in the way, and it looks as if the Ford, yes, the Ford has taken the lead. Brian Redman got trapped behind the other car briefly, and Klaus Ludwig literally saw the main chance and has forced the Ford into the lead. Well, we'll see it again. There you see the approach, Kemper Miller driving there. Miller is right in front of the Jaguar, and the German driver sneaks down the outside, tucks in front of the Jaguar, and then they go round the Red Lobster car. And away they go with the Ford now in the lead. This very exciting car. There is a possibility they may bring that to Le Mans this year. And Brian Redman will be very unhappy about that. He was caught out a little bit, and you can expect to see him attacking again pretty soon. 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged 4-cylinder against the normally aspirated V12 Jaguar, which has a very special microchip which controls how much fuel is squirted into the engine. They call it an engine management system, and they are using that in Formula 1, and the Jaguar has it too. And the Ford's in trouble. I don't know what happened there, but the Jaguar has retaken the lead. Brian Redman is back in the lead, and the Ford looked in trouble. Or maybe he just clipped a wall. You have to be so precise here. Well, Brian Redman will be thanking his lucky stars for that one. So it is Brian Redman in the lead. Yes, indeed, the Ford is in the pits, and there doesn't seem to be much activity. Yes, it looks as if he clipped a wall, and that's probably broken the front suspension, and the Ford is definitely out of the race. So moving up is this car, driven by the Frenchman Bob Wallach, a great Porsche exponent. That's the Porsche 935, owned by Preston Hen, and Bob Wallach is co-driving it with the legendary A.J. Foyt. He'll be getting in the car a little bit later. 3-hour race, and most of the teams will be making 2 pit stops. And one car that has already made a pit stop is the number 84 car, and Emerson Fittipaldi has taken that over, and Emerson really seems to be piling on the pressure. Very impressive in practice. Now out into the race, Emerson Fittipaldi, the first 50 minutes driven by Tony Garcia, Cuban driver, Cuban-born driver, Miami-based. And now Emerson Fittipaldi is making that car go very quickly indeed, and I suggest quicker than any Mark Chev has ever been before. Well, just that's Hopalong Hurley Hayward. He hurt his leg last year, determined to race. He's sharing Porsche 935 with Claude Pallalena, and he's taking over that car, hopping in. Well, I don't know if he should be driving that. And another car in the pits. This is a routine stop, and Brian Redman's in the pits, and he's handing the car over to the very talented rising American star Doc Bundy, a new set of tyres. Brian Redman just giving Doc Bundy a bit of advice. And the Jaguar is very fuel efficient, will only be making 1 stop. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi moving up the field, about to pick off another Porsche 935. That's de Narvaez driving that one from Colombia. And no problems at all with that, and Emerson Fittipaldi is setting a cracking pace and looks as if he's going to be challenging those Jaguars very soon. Twice world champion in 1972 with Lotus, in 1974 with McLaren. And the yellow flag is out. There's a problem on the course. Well, there's one car stranded. That's the Chuck Kendall Chevrolet. And Emerson finding the traffic a little bit busy. Emerson retired from racing 3 years ago. But has decided to come back. Was perhaps thinking of coming back in Formula One, tested the Spirit Heart car in Brazil a couple of weeks ago, has now decided, at least for this year, to concentrate on sports car racing, and what a fine job he's making of it. Emerson Fittipaldi now in front of the Foyt Wallet. Porsche and up to third place, and closing on the Jaguars. In the 04 car, comes out of the pits, and has he seen the other Jaguar? No, he hasn't. Doc Bundy just avoids him, has to take to the slip road, and that's going to lose the lead car sometime. And there's another accident, and that's the Nimrod Aston Martin of Ramirez, and that car is very badly damaged. The yellow flag goes out, and the pace cars. Well, they've pulled the pace cars back into the pits. The race is back on again. And there's the second place car, the Bedard car, earlier driven by Bob Tullius. And Emerson Fittipaldi has used the yellow flag situation to close right up. Emerson Fittipaldi in third place, going for second place, and he takes it very cleanly indeed. So Fittipaldi now up into second place and has split the Jaguars. And behind the Jaguar, that's the creepy-crawly Porsche engine march of the South African Cyril van der Merwe and Tony Martin, who won the recent Daytona 24 Hours. They've been in the pits a couple of times, lying in 7th place. And the Jaguar lines up behind the Leon brothers, Martin Chev, and will soon pick that one off. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi is chasing the leading Jaguar. He overtakes the 4th place loader of John Morton. Fittipaldi setting a hot pace, closing on the leading car. And there is the 4th placed Porsche 935. Bob Wallach still at the wheel, the car he is sharing with AJ Foyt. Fittipaldi stopped. The doors come open. Fittipaldi's in trouble. What a shame. Fittipaldi visibly upset. The car owned by Ralph Sanchez. Yes, Fittipaldi, I have had word, is out of the race. So it is back to a Jaguar 1-2 situation. And there is the lead car with Doc Bundy driving it. Bundy considered to be one of the most promising American drivers, certainly in sports car racing. Brian Redman started it, and Doc Bundy is going to finish it. $50,000 first prize, and now victory is in sight for that Jaguar. It looks as if it's going to be a great Jaguar 1-2. Beautiful lines, that Jaguar. Around past the marina, and already the cheers are going up. The V12 engine powers the car out of the hairpin. And Jaguar win the Miami Grand Prix.
Yes, a great day for Jaguar to confirm. A victory for Brian Redman and his American co-driver Doc Bundy. Second place, the American team owner Bob Tullius and his co-driver Pat Bedard. Third, the British-built Lola Chev of Californians John Morton and Bob Lobenberg, with AJ Foyt and Bob Wallach fourth. After the race, Andrew Marriott asked Redman about this win.
How did the Jaguar go? No problems.
The car went superbly throughout the race. It never missed a beat. The engine, the gearbox, the brakes, everything stayed the same at the end of the race as at the beginning. It's terrific.